I kind of checked all the boxes of success. I was driving a Porsche, married with family, net worth in seven figures. I wasn't jumping up and down with joy. If this is the guy who I am, the man who was afraid of judgment, who was a people pleaser, and I came to realize is I wasn't prioritizing me. And the definition of success that I had was all wrong. You don't want to find out that you kept ignoring something that was so critical in your life that it gets to the point where it's the point of no return. What I came to realize with people pleasing is I would rather someone hate the real me than love the fake me.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm going to be your host today. And in our studio, we have Saahil Mehta. How are you today, sir?
Rick, I'm so honored and happy to be here right now.
I'm excited to have you. I think this is going to be a great show. I love talking about entrepreneurship. We're going to dig deep into it. So this is going to be a very cool episode. Folks, do me a favor. If you haven't done it already, I would be grateful if you'd like to subscribe and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. And without further ado, as usual, let's get to it. So, Saahil, our audience doesn't know you. So could you give us a little bit of your background, who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do?
A lot of questions, but let's get right into it, Rick. I'm born and raised in Belgium, parents of Indian descent. I've lived in 5 countries across 3 continents, with the current one being the UAE. I live in Dubai for the last 19 years, and that's given me a real global kind of outlook on life. That's really helped me in my entrepreneurial journey because I work with such a vast array of people, all the way from one end of the globe to the other. So having been brought up in these multicultural environments has really helped me to better understand and be curious about the clients that I work with, as well as the potential clients. So I'm going to start with that. I didn't start as an entrepreneur. I started working for someone else. The first 3.5 years of my life, after following this formula, right? I was told that you study hard, you're going to get into a very good university. I got into one of the best universities in the UK. It's one of the best in the world as well. And I thought, okay, pat on the back, well done. And then I got hired as an investment banker at Credit Suisse First Boston. Now, I would have said yay about that until they went bust a few years ago. But regardless, it was great. Straight out of college, earning $80,000 a year, not bad at all. Life was good. And then what happened was my dad actually started on the entrepreneurial journey first. He reached the retirement age where he was working, and he said, and this was I think he was 54 years old. And he said, I don't want to retire. For him, retirement meant life is over. That was his belief system. So he said, no, I've been in this industry since I think he started when he was 17. He didn't even finish school. That's how much he was so passionate in this industry, which was the diamond trading industry. That's when he said, I'm going to start my own company. And then as a good son, I said, I should leave what I'm doing and come and support you. So I came out of this job that I had, high pay, all of that stuff, to come and help my father. But one of the things that I've learned, and I've kind of noticed this with many partnerships that I've had, whether it's been my dad or other people, one thing that is so important that I've learned along the way, Rick, is how are your core values matched, right? Because everyone is a good friend or is a great partner when things are rosy. But what happens when shit hits the fan?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is that partner still going to be who you thought they were? And in my case, I actually found that there were certain things I entered without discussing the what ifs. And I realized that we just did not see eye to eye. Now, luckily with my dad and I, it's a different kind of relationship and we work it out. But I've noticed that many of the other partnerships that I entered, which actually resulted in one startup going bust, even though it was kind of a no-brainer to me, it had all the right elements to succeed and still it went bust. I mean, just to give you an idea, it was optimizing air conditioning systems in Dubai, where it's really hot. And ACs are used all year round. You think to yourself, yeah, that should work. But It wasn't the product that was the problem. It was the people. It was how we came together or the lack of, and that resulted in the company eventually having to fall, right? So anyway, started the entrepreneurial journey. But, my dad was the boss. So,
Mm-hmm.
even though I had my other ventures, which some worked, some didn't,
Mm-hmm.
some were bad partnerships. 2008 happened. That didn't work out too well either.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, what I realized is that, you hear all these people say that if you fail, fail fast. And I agree with that statement if you have a product or service that doesn't work. Like, you test it in the market and
Mm-hmm.
you go, I thought there'd be an audience for this, but there isn't.
Yeah.
But in my case, what I've realized in the businesses that I run, because I now run 4 different businesses, is you have to be in there for the long tail and for the long game. And there are a lot of things that you will only pick up, and a lot of the seeds that you planted in the early years start to germinate later. So you got to hang through it.
Yeah.
This is, of
Yeah.
course, assuming that your product or service is desirable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I agree with the fail fast part, except when it's something that is desirable. You do need a lot of patience. So
Mm.
anyway, reached 36 and I kind of checked all the boxes of success. For me, success, Rick, was lifestyle. I was driving a Porsche, had a lovely mansion with 6 bedrooms, married with family, net worth, in 7 figures,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't jumping up and down with joy.
Well, what
Yeah.
happened?
And then I'm kind of questioning myself. I'm like, am I just being ungrateful? Because I worked hard. My dad worked
Mm-hmm.
hard. I've worked hard. We built things together. We built things on our own. Things didn't work. Things did work. We learned along the way. But why am I not fulfilled?
That's the
And
question.
and at that moment, while I was asking these kind of questions to myself, I went on a retreat with some fellow entrepreneurs, and we all agreed to 2 words, and that was no judgment. And I felt this huge weight just like lifted off my shoulders. I didn't
Mm.
have to pretend to be someone I'm not,
Yeah.
and I could just be me.
Yeah.
And the only word I can use to describe how those 4 days went on the retreat was euphoric.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were out one night and we had this restaurant where they have these different performances while you dine. So they'll
Mm-hmm.
have a singer, they'll have a hypnotist and, acrobat, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're sitting right next to the stage. I mean, my arm is literally on the stage resting. And the last act, these dancers come up. And then one looks at me and says, come up. The previous version of me would have, picked up my phone and pretended I was busy. Yeah. I would have looked the other way. But I said, you know what? I love to dance and no judgment. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, sure. And I went up on stage and I felt liberated. And at the end of the song, she wraps her arms around me and flings her legs up. And I was just going, what just happened? And then luckily for me, I caught her, right? I caught her.
Uh-huh.
But it got me thinking that she just met me. She's known me for a whole 60 or 90 seconds, however long that
Uh-huh.
song lasted. And she had more trust in me than I had in myself. Yeah. So that was kind of one of those aha moments. And I had so many of those aha moments and I wanted to share that with my wife. So on the way back, I'm writing them all down on a notepad on the airplane. And then
Yeah.
I noticed tears trickling down my face. And I'm going, what's happening? I'm not, it's not normal. Like I don't cry that much.
Licking.
But again, no judgment. Even though I had some, these fellow entrepreneurs sitting on either side of me, I said, no judgment. Let me process. Let me just understand. And I realized that if this is the guy who I am, then who's this guy that I'm going back to?
Mm. That's a good question.
The man who was afraid of judgment, who was a people pleaser. And I came to realize is I wasn't prioritizing me. And the definition of success that I had was all wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it was, if I had to sum it up, fame and fortune, right?
Yeah, you checked the boxes. You said, okay, this is what
Yeah.
humans expect, right?
Yeah. But it was inherited,
Mm-hmm.
right? It came from family. It came from media, social media, the educational system, from society, etc. And I realized that, of course, I'm not going to be happy because it's not my definition. And I followed the system to the T. I followed it, university, the job, the money. Everything I was told to do, I did. But what I realized is that system was not my system. So that's kind of when one, I prioritized me. And 2, I said to myself, Rick, I need to define success for myself.
I would bet a lot of entrepreneurs, have that. I don't know if they go on that same journey, but it's that same thing. It's like, when you've worked with entrepreneurs around the world, and so I'm sure you've heard this thing. It's like, what do you want to do? What do you see success? Well, I want to make 6 figures. I want to make 7 figures. I want to make, whatever that is. Is that what you're seeing?
I'm seeing a lot of people have a definition that's one, either very vague, because, I want to be rich. A lot of people will say that. What
Yeah.
does that actually mean?
Yeah.
Is it rich in health? Is it rich in wealth? Is it rich in relationships? Is it
Yeah.
rich in something else?
Yeah.
And even if it is wealth, which a lot of people mention, is it $1 million? Is it $10 million? Is it $100 million? Like what is that number? So it's just very vague. So a combination of vague and following what you've been told, at least that was in my case, it meant, how am I even going to know if I got there?
It's interesting. I've had a number of guests on the show that, have had, built these huge businesses, and it was at the expense of their health, of their family, and they're just throwing themselves into it. And they discover, that light at the rainbow, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow was really more of a prison, than something that they could really enjoy. And they've restarted their lives and they become, more interested in people, interested in becoming people wealthy. It's like, what kind of impact am I making around the world? I think that's absolutely amazing. What is some common threads, you see with people around what? I mean, you talked about, they want to be wealthy, but I mean, what are, I don't know, characteristics you're seeing that people are just, just running after in order to achieve what they call success?
So funnily enough, the book that I'm writing right now, which is almost finished, where the working title is The Zero Regret Entrepreneur, highlights 7 behavioral traits based on interviewing over 100 entrepreneurs around, highly successful entrepreneurs, I should say, around the world, and listing out the 7 most common challenges that they face, that are their own behaviors that are getting in the way of their next level of progress.
It's exciting.
And I don't want to share all 7, but I can highlight a couple of them. One of them is always being available. As a business owner, I'm passionate about my work. I have to answer the emails. I have to pick up the phone calls. And in many cases, like you said, when I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. I'm
Yeah.
present. I'm physically present at dinner, but my mind is thinking about the meeting tomorrow, or the numbers, or the pitch I have to make, or the investor presentation, whatever it is. I'm not mentally there. I'm just physically there. I keep telling my spouse or the kids or some important friends in my life, sorry, I have to cancel again. So it's always being available, which is coupled with business first. But again, to your point, when you said yes to something, what are you saying no to? And if I look at the previous version of myself, Rick, I had this tunnel vision, and I used to see more money, or the the company rising, which generally meant more money as well. I'd be like, yeah, let's go. But I never asked the question, okay, but what have I said no to? Because if I'm okay with the no, let's go with the yes. No problem at all. But if I'm not okay with the no, maybe I need to modify or think again about this decision.
Mm-hmm. I would admit, I've had that challenge, multiple times in my life. I'm trying to, build this company and this and that and this and that. And I'm curious, how do you guide people in really beating that? Because I mean, it's not just, stepping away and saying no, but it's also, that discipline. You go on vacation, you go to New York, for a month or whatever, and you're going to spend time with your family. Your businesses continue to run. How do you break that habit of, I need to check my phone, I need to answer my phone, I need to do these things? What's your system?
I love the last question that you asked. What's your system? Because that's exactly what someone needs. They need a system. But I am going to say one thing before I answer that question. The best thing you can do, because I thought, how is my business going to run without me? What's going to happen if I'm not there? And one of the things that I'm very passionate about is mountains. I'm a mountaineer. I climb mountains. And when I climb mountains, that includes high altitude mountains. And that means that I'm disconnected for a period of a week at a stretch. where it's not that that I want to check my phone. I can't check my phone because there's no signal.
Mhm.
I'm literally disconnected. I'm so far removed from society that no one can get in touch with me and I can't get in touch with anyone. Now, Rick, I'm going to tell you, it's a very humbling experience. Because you know what? The company did just great. So when I thought that I was indispensable, boy, was I wrong. The company not only, I would say, coasted, they didn't coast, they thrived. They did really well. And when problems arose, the team managed to overcome them. So I always tell people, remove yourself, because there is that bit of ego. I mean, I still have it every now and again. It creeps up and I have to remind myself, hey, buddy, you were away. You've been away many times for a week where they couldn't get a hold of you and they managed through some crises and all of that. You have a good team, right? And even if I didn't know if I had a good team, I have to test the team and the systems that I have in place, which I'm able to do. You might say 7 days, too much. Okay, fine, do 2 days, but start somewhere.
So if I understand you correctly, you develop the systems and processes in your company so that they would know A, what they're supposed to do every day, but B, how to respond when things, kind of want to rise. Is that accurate?
Yes, but I also gave the team a chance.
Okay.
I didn't say they're not going to be able to function without me. And then to answer your question on what kind of system do I have when I'm traveling, when I'm on holiday, I usually tell the family, I say, look, I am a business owner. I'm not, so I can't disconnect 100%. I'm just being honest with you. I'm going to need perhaps an hour in the morning, and the mornings work because I'm an early bird and everyone's sleeping. So no one complains about that one. Because, then I usually do my exercise and all of that. And by the time I've done my exercise, my work, that's when the rest of the family seem to be waking up, especially the kids. So they have no complaints. So I have a system where I'll check. And, Rick, I always tell these amazing entrepreneurs that I work with who usually are working I'm just throwing an average out there for, let's say, 9-10 hours a day. Some are working a lot more, but, during certain times when that need is required. But that's the kind of range. I always tell them, imagine you have half the time. What are the things you're going to stop doing? And what are the things that you're going to focus on? Because that takes you towards the things that matter most, where you need to be involved. And so for me, I tell my team, I'm only going to check my emails in the morning and I'll check them once in the evening and the messages or, whatever communication tools we have. And if there's anything urgent in between, call me, but it better be urgent. Because if it's not urgent, someone's getting in trouble.
So I'm hearing is you communicate to both your team and your family in this case. And I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
But it's a system, right? I've communicated a system.
You set times and you set time and place, and you prioritize the things that need to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you're very disciplined about doing that each time. Do you make like some sort of agreement with yourself? Is this something that perhaps you wrote down and said, okay, this is going to be my plan? And I'm just thinking, from the perspective of our audience and saying, okay, you know what, this is how we get this done. So did you create some sort of agreement with yourself, or is it something just off the top of your head, just randomly? Or
Rick, you've nailed it with that statement. There has to be something in writing. Because there's so many times where someone else may say, I thought you said something else. You said so blah, blah, blah. Did I? No, I didn't. And I might even second guess myself. But if it's in writing,
yeah,
it's in black and white.
Yeah.
There's no discussion whether it was mentioned or it wasn't. And with my team as well, many times after an important conversation, I send them an email summarizing what we discuss. And I say, hey, if there's a discrepancy, email me. Otherwise, this is what we're going to follow.
Okay.
The last thing is I want someone to say, I don't want to get into this he said, she said argument. It doesn't serve anyone. So writing it down is key, at least for me.
And that's how you manage like changing your habits. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, and it's not just changing your habits. It's if I can just go into the defining success, because I find that with the people I work with, once they start to define success for themselves, and I'll just share very briefly how that can be done, it starts to bring a lot of clarity and direction. So what I do is
you prioritize things differently because you define success differently.
Correct.
Got it.
Well, you finally defined it for yourself, right? So the first step is, and I always tell people that you in the world of mountaineering, you have the 7 summits. Now, these are the tallest mountains on each of the 7 continents of our world. When you summit all 7 of them, and I've done 2 of the 7 so far, when you've summited all 7, you've conquered the world, right? That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me thinking. I said, Saahil, what if you conquered your inner 7 summits?
Interesting.
Yeah, the 7 things that are most important to you that make up your definition of success. Because success is never one thing. If you have all the money in the world and you have nothing else, you're not going to be happy. If you have all the health in the world and nothing else, you're not going to be happy, etc. Now, why 7 and not 3? If I said 3, everyone's going to say health, wealth, relationships. Too easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the default for most people. 7 makes you think that what else is important for me? And in my case, for example, Rick, what came up was fun and recreation.
Okay.
And I realized that that's a very important aspect of my life, because if I'm not enjoying myself, what's the point? I became an entrepreneur so that I would have freedom. I don't want to be chained to my business. I don't want to feel like I'm not having a good time. I mean, that's why I became an entrepreneur, so that I could kind of manage my own life.
Yeah.
And once you've defined the 7, I take the people I work with, we prioritize them. And then we highlight which ones can you afford to drop and which ones can you not afford to drop. Because like you said earlier in the conversation, you sometimes have to make sacrifices because the business really needs you, or your family really needs you, or your health really needs you.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you have to be able to sacrifice the ones that are less important, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to find out that you kept ignoring something that was so critical in your life that it gets to the point where it's the point of no return.
Yeah.
Like a spouse saying, I'm going to leave you, or your health gets to a point where it's medication for life, or you got cancer or something along those lines, right? There's no turning around at that point. You're never going to be the same again. So we don't want that to happen. So we highlight the 7, we prioritize them, and that allows me to go, okay, when I say yes, what is the net effect on these 7 summits that are my internal ones? Because before I only saw money, as I told you, and I said, yes, let's go. But now I'm saying, okay, money and this and this and this and this. Okay, the net effect is positive. Let's go ahead with the decision. And if the net effect is taking me down the mountains, I may have to reconsider the decision that I'm making.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. One thing that comes to mind is, we have the expectations that society, creates for us, success as society defines for us. The challenge I'm curious about is there's got to be, we tend to be people pleasers. We tend to want to be okay with the people that surround us. How do we deal with that? That guilt that's associated with, hey, you know what? Money is no longer my primary driver, right? You know what I mean? I want to make impact. I mean, there's real guilt around that. How do we deal with that?
I love your question. It's one of my favorite topics. So I'm going to start by saying that there's a book that's written called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And I just want to highlight the number 1 regret, right? And for all the entrepreneurs that are listening, these people that were researched are not, they were successful people. Let's just say that they were wealthy individuals because they could afford private hospice care, in the final moments of their life. And the number 1 regret, Rick, is I wish I had the courage to be true to myself over the life that was expected of me.
Yeah.
Right. So I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself over the life that was expected of me. So it's very much in line with what you're saying. Now, knowing that's where you could potentially end up. Now it's, in my case, it's in my head. And every day I read that line because I say, I am not going to be that person.
Yeah.
That's not going to be me. The number 1 regret. And coming back to, the follow-up, which is the people-pleasing aspect of it. Funnily enough, I did a TEDx talk just earlier this year on how people-pleasing almost cost me my life. So it's something I'm super, super passionate about. And funnily enough, I was just interviewing someone prior to this for my upcoming book who was sharing the experience of people-pleasing. And what she was telling me, she said, Saahil, I just realized in this conversation that as I was pleasing others, because I thought if I'm liked in my company, my employees will work harder for me. But then I was also being inauthentic because I wanted them to love me. And I was tolerating the kind of behavior that they were having, which was not acceptable because
Yeah.
I'm the boss. It's my company. This is not the culture I want in my company. And the moment she started putting in boundaries, which was very hard for her because, people pleasing was almost her DNA and it was
Mhm.
mine as well before.
Mhm.
But what I came to realize with people pleasing is I would rather someone hate the real me than love the fake me. And in her case, because she was people pleasing, a toxic behavior started to spread like cancer within the company. And it ended up in bringing the company down. When she recognized it, she took action, affirmative action, got rid of the people that weren't serving anymore, said to herself, I'm not going to people please. I'm the boss. I need to make sure that I elevate the company because that's serving my employees and serving me and my family.
Mhm.
And she still struggles with it today, as do I, by the way. It never goes away, but you just get better at managing it. In people pleasing, you may lose people along the way because they're used to you behaving in a certain manner.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you sound like a douchebag because you're protecting your boundaries.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that I always tell people. I say this relationship matters to me. I love and honor who you are and everything
Mhm.
that you are,
Mhm.
and I accept you. And I hope one day you will accept me too for the way I am. And if there's anything I can do to make this transition period easier, please let me know because this relationship matters.
Mm. Mm. Well said. Well said. I really like that. Along those lines, I was thinking about. I've met some people that have decided to authentically pursue that thing that only they had the vision for. And one of the things that was shared was they felt isolated because there was no one they could really relate to on their own journey. What do you say to that?
The short answer, Rick, is community. There are so many communities out there where entrepreneurs where usually it's a lonely journey because you can't talk to your team about certain things. You can't
Hmm.
share, some of the fears or the pain that you're going through because you don't want them to see that because that might affect whether they stay in the company or their performance in the company. I get it. But there's so many communities out there which you can be a part of where you can meet your fellow peers who are other entrepreneurs who are
Hmm.
facing the same challenges as you are, worrying about making payroll or the growth of the company or getting in too many investors and diluting my share. I mean, the questions go and the comments go on and on, but we all
Yeah.
have the same or similar challenges. But when we join these communities, we get to talk to people about it. We get to share our own experiences and learn from each other. I call, it's peer-to-peer learning.
Hmm.
And you have wonderful communities out there like Entrepreneurs Organization. You've got the Young Presidents Organization. You have Ascentive, and the list goes on and on. There's many out there,
Yeah.
and you can't do this alone. It's you what's that famous African proverb? If you go alone, you can go fast, but if you go together, you can go further, or something along those lines.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It That's so true. We cannot do this on our own. We need each other to elevate. And I've grown thanks to the wonderful entrepreneurs in my life who have nothing to do with my business, but
Hmm.
we meet on a frequent basis and just share the ups and the downs, and we elevate each other. So you find those communities, and if not, just create a small group, right? Yeah, or a mastermind or something where you can connect with like-minded entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that is so important. That is so important. We can't go further together. That's. I love that. I love that idea. I want to circle back to an earlier conversation, and I want to get your perspective on. I'm gonna use this word that you're probably just gonna throw out the window. Your perspective on a balanced life. You're not, I mean, you've got four businesses, you've got kids, you got a wife, you're traveling, you're on podcasts and that sort of thing. And you're climbing mountains. I almost forgot you're climbing mountains. Talk to me about balance. As an entrepreneur, as we all have lots of irons in the fire. How do we what should our perspective on balance be?
Okay. So I'm going to give you my take because I believe that balance is something that is dynamic. It's not something that is fixed. Rick, you're not the same person you were last week, right? And I believe it's the Buddha that said every breath is a new me. So
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly evolving. Maybe it's small on a daily basis, but if you look at the Rick from 7 years ago to the Rick today, very different human being.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the core values may not change, but you're not the same person you were 7 years ago. So let's just keep that in mind that it's a dynamic thing. Now, what I look at is for me, balance is about feel. It's about how I feel. If I'm feeling off, it means I'm off balance. If I'm feeling good, that means I'm balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's all about energy, about feeling. And how do I manage that is in two ways. And it's really the morning ritual and the evening ritual, which for me, it's like my religion, right? It's what I will not sacrifice that unless if absolutely necessary. So 80% of the year I'm doing it, 20% maybe I'm traveling, jet lagged, whatever, right? Emergencies come up, stuff like that. But in the morning, for me, it's very important to energize myself. So, normally when I wake up, before the previous version of me was get up, get the kids up, get them ready for school, drop them to school, work out, breakfast, quickly get ready, get to work, 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 work. Manage to find some free time for a quick bite, maybe even eat on my desk, work, 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 get home just in time to put the kids to bed, have dinner, kind of exhausted. Now, wife needs some attention, parents need attention, friends need attention. I get a little bit more exhausted and then repeat, right? I said, no, that's got to stop. It doesn't make sense. I used to think just by running faster, I'm going to achieve more. But
Yeah.
believe it or not, Rick, and this is important for all the listeners, once I started defining success and I started being more focused on what really matters and remove the rest of the clutter in my life,
Yeah.
I'm working fewer hours. I've got more time for family, more time for my health and hobbies, traveling more, and I'm making more money. So for all those people who think you have to work, the only way to make more money and to succeed is to work harder. Yes, you have to work hard, but if you remove a lot of the fluff or the clutter, you can actually, free up time. So coming back to the morning ritual, I spend a lot of time with myself. I wake up anywhere between 5 and 5:30. I don't use
Mm-hmm.
an alarm because I believe when the body is ready to wake up, it'll wake up. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't get to my office till 10 o'clock. So you might be wondering, like, what do you do for 4.5 hours? I work out. I do my morning ritual. I spend time with my children before they go to school. And I do all that. And I have a nice breakfast because that's really important for me. That energizes me. Because when I wake up in the morning, it's like my battery needs to get fully charged, not just to sleep, but get charged up for the day. And so I do all these things because it elevates my level of presence. And then I work at home before I get to the office where no one disturbs me for about an hour. Then I get to
Mm-hmm.
the office.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got to the office, I've got a lot of stuff done, and I'm like pumped. I'm so energized, and I'm like go go go. I'm focused. I'm energized because I know what direction I want to go. I focus my energies there. Anything else goes to my EA, goes to other people in the company, or just gets deleted because it just doesn't require anyone's attention.
Yeah.
So that's my morning ritual because that makes me feel good and I come in charged. Now at the end of the day, my evening ritual, I go off all devices an hour before bed. I start dimming the lights. I get into my nightwear because I'm like, I want to prepare my body and start.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the end of your workout when you're on the treadmill, it has the cool down period. So that's the cool down period at the end of the night.
I like that.
And I have a little diary and I ask myself two questions every single night. And the first question is, what drained my energy levels today? Yeah. What drained my energy levels today?
Mm-hmm.
And I just write it down in the diary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to end on a low. So the second question is, what raised my energy levels today?
Mm-hmm.
And every week or every 2 weeks, I look at the diary and I realize patterns. I see things happening again and again that are similar that drain my energy levels. So in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, that's like, okay, that's clutter in my life. I need to
Mm-hmm.
address it. And the things that elevate my energy levels, I go, ooh, how do I do more of that?
Mm-hmm.
So over time, what has happened, Rick, is one, I'm charged up in the morning, and whatever was draining my energy levels, I started to eliminate those one at a time. And whatever elevated my energy level, I started doing more. So that for me is what brought in more balance
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm feeling much better. And the stuff that I just refused to let go of, and I was carrying this unnecessary weight in my life, that's what put me off balance.
Mm. So balance for you is energetic. It's not necessarily trying to get time for everything and everyone.
No, because there are moments where whether it's work, maybe the child needs you because they're going through a rough time at school,
Mhm.
or your spouse had a bad day and wants to talk to you. Yes, then you make the time and you
Yeah.
sacrifice something else.
Yeah.
But it's being there for what matters most at that moment in time. And sometimes your work needs you. There will be days where my family is upset, but I said, look, this is temporary. This week is just one of those weeks. I just have to be there,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to see much of you. I'm sorry, but it's required because that allows us to enjoy the life that we do.
Hmm. Mm. So it goes back to communication now.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like that. I mean, you're just so open. You're transparent with the people that are in your circle, and then they have an expectation of what to expect from you, which is brilliant. I mean, it just
Yeah.
makes sense.
I do want to say there's a big but to this. But if you keep doing that and you keep sacrificing, then it's no longer a sacrifice, it's the norm. And that's
Yeah.
what I tell a lot of my clients because they keep telling me, oh, just when I get to this, or when I get that deal, or when I open that
Yeah.
new office, or I make that
Yeah.
next $100,000. I said, buddy, I've been hearing this same story for 6 months now. It's no longer a sacrifice, it's a choice. And it's okay if it's a choice. Just be honest with yourself. Don't tell me this is a priority and then don't give it any priority because you're lying to yourself.
That's I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, you went from, working, running, 12 to 14 hours a day to the routine that you have now. And again, like I was saying before, I mean, there's about defining success. There's some, I don't know, there's got to be some tension about going from, hey, you know what, I need to start working at 7 o'clock in the morning to, hey, you know what, I'm not going to start working until 10. And I'm going to take the time for myself to energize myself and get ready before I go to work. How do you, and the key here is, how do we change our mindset and give ourselves permission to get into this secondary, modality?
Amazing question. Man, I'm going to come to you for good questions because you just keep asking one amazing question after another. So my quick, my not quick, but the answer to this is, and what came immediately into my mind when you asked this question is most people, they think of the big leap, they think of the big jump. For example, they'll think, I'll say, Rick, write a book, and you're like, oh my god, that just sounds like a lot. I got to get an editor. I got to get a this. I got to, the what's my title? What am I going to write? The chapters. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of people end up doing nothing because it just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've probably heard this many times, but the reality is you need to break it down into what is the next step I can take. And again, using the mountain analogies, you have your 7 summits of success. You know where you are. You know what the summit looks like from your perspective of life today. The summit might take me years to get to.
Hmm.
That's okay. What
Hmm.
is one step that I can take that takes me up that mountain today?
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm.
And if you just focus on one step and you keep taking that step every single day, just that one step, right? I mean, we're not talking about a leap, a jump, nothing, one step.
Hmm.
You get into momentum.
Hmm.
And this is where I love Johnny Walker's slogan, keep walking.
Hmm.
It's brilliant. Keep walking. Just take one step every single day. You don't need to take 2 steps or 3 steps, just one. And as long as you keep doing that, you build momentum. And as you keep doing that, and it becomes a discipline, it becomes a habit. And the next thing you know, a year down the line, you're like, oh my goodness, I did all this in a year. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
had you tried to think about where you were going to get by the end of the year, oh my God, that looks like too much. I can't do it. And you probably end up doing nothing.
Yes. Yes, yes, intentionality and taking small bites. I like that. I like that a lot. You have a gift for our audience. Can you talk to them about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this gift, which is for this beautiful audience, is something that I normally reserve for my private coaching clients. And it's called the Zero Regret Success Kit. And so if you've built the business, you've got the net worth, you've checked every box you were told to check, and there's still this quiet little voice saying something's missing, then this is for you. The first part of the gift, because there's two parts, is the success audit. It's what I use with my private clients. You complete it in maybe 10 minutes or so, and it shows you exactly where the gaps are across the 7 dimensions of a fulfilling life, which is your definition of success, right? Which are the areas you've been neglecting while building the business and which ones you need to focus on first. Most people tell me that just by doing this short exercise, it gave them more clarity about their own life than the last 2 decades. The second piece is the success redefinition session. And this is the starting point where I take my coaching clients who are spending more than $30,000 on coaching engagements. It's a 45-minute call where I'm going to take you through your audit results with you and map out from where you are to where you want to go. And now I cap this at 5 people, not because I want to, make it exclusive or this or that, but I'm doing this myself. I don't use assistants. I don't use other people. So it's my valuable time, but I want to give some of that to your audience. So for 5 people who decide to move forward with it, make sure you grab it before it's gone. I'll take you through the audit. So go to pursuit.zeroregretlife.com. So make sure you grab it before it's gone.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic. That's a very generous offering. Your time is extraordinarily valuable. So I look forward to hearing about anybody that's taking advantage of that. One last question for you.
Fire away.
So the name of the podcast is called The Relentless Pursuit of Winning. And as we talked about, winning is really, the definition of winning is really up to the individual. The challenge that we have, and we did talk about this a little bit, the challenge that we have is maintaining that relentless pursuit. Getting up and doing it every single day, regardless of what's happening in the world around us. So my question for you is, what would you recommend to someone to help them maintain that relentless pursuit?
Don't do something because the money is good. Do something because you truly believe you're making a change in the world that you are proud of. Because no matter how hard things get, when it's beyond you and it's about elevating society, elevating the world that we live in, you somehow find that reserve energy from somewhere to keep going.
So you see all of us as global citizens, and we have the responsibility of some level of contribution to the world. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I see. All these entrepreneurs, they usually have a business that it makes things better for the people. Hence, why they're buying from them, right? That's just how it is, and we have to do our part. We're lucky. We could have been born in poverty. We could have been born in broken families, and maybe some of us are. I don't know, but right now we're having a life that is, we're fortunate. So let's not let that go to waste. Let's max that out and make a difference.
Yeah. I really like the idea of having that purpose that's bigger than ourselves, because things happen in life.
I don't want people, because even the previous versions, like, I got to change the world. And as I grew older and wiser, and I learned from my amazing mentor, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's co-authoring the book, my next book with me, he said, Sal, now I just want to make your life a little bit better. So if you can make one person's life a little bit better, that's already a great start.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. Thank you so much. If someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way is come on my website or hit me up on LinkedIn. It's www.sahilmehta.com. That's SAAHILMEHTA.com. Same word on LinkedIn and other social media channels. Shoot me a message. I always respond to them personally myself.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being on the show. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and you work with my answers, my questions. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the amazing questions.
Absolutely. Folks, thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We'll catch you next time.